The baby that couldn't be mine. My name is Nathan Wallace. I'm 50 years old. I've been married to my wife, Julia, for 20 years. We raised 2 sons, Lucas and Ben, and built what I thought was an unshakable life in a cozy home tucked in a quiet suburb. We'd survived job changes, toddler tantrums, a roof leak, and the pandemic. We weren't perfect, but we were stable, comfortable. Or so I believed. It started with a whisper. 2 words that knocked the air out of my chest like a sucker punch. I'm pregnant. Julia said it with the kind of joy that fills a room like sunlight through open windows. She looked at me like she'd handed me the winning lottery ticket. But something inside me went cold. Because 10 years ago, after Ben was born, I'd had a vasectomy. Not just the procedure but the follow-up test too, confirmed. 0 sperm. Permanent. No chance of a surprise miracle. We'd sold the crib at a garage sale, donated baby clothes, and converted the nursery into my office/gaming nook. We were done. And we agreed on that. Or, I thought we had. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. Julia had grown quiet around babies. She'd linger near playgrounds when we walked the dog. Her eyes would mist over at the baby aisle in stores. I chalked it up to midlife nostalgia. Empty nest syndrome creeping in early. I didn't think much of it. I was buried in software releases and debugging nightmares, and the boys were charging toward high school with the emotional chaos of adolescence. I didn't want to reset the clock. Then one night, as I lay half asleep, she whispered, "You'd be such a good dad to a little girl." Her voice cracked just enough to tell me it came from someplace real. Froze. I squeezed her hand. I didn't answer. Cowardice wins in quiet moments. She brought it up again. First gently, then with articles about late pregnancies, blog posts of over 40 moms, and even rare cases of vasectomies failing. I didn't have the heart to remind her that mine hadn't failed. I had proof. Instead I stalled. Said we could try. Maybe I hoped trying would be enough. Maybe I thought she'd lose interest after a few months of negative tests. But month after month we tried. Her hopes soared and crashed like a tide. And with every crash, our connection wore thinner. Conversations shrank. Laughter vanished. We began moving through the house like polite strangers. Eventually, guilt swallowed me whole. I scheduled a new test. Same result. Azoospermia. Still 0. Still permanent. Final. I printed the report and shoved it in my glove box, numb. I hadn't wanted another baby. But the truth still carved a hollow space inside me. That door was closed. Locked forever. Or so I thought. 3 days later, Julia spun into the living room beaming, waving a pregnancy test. "It happened, Nate. We did it." 2 lines. Positive. I heard myself say, "That's amazing." But inside me everything froze. I hugged her while my brain screamed one word, "How?" I retested. Again. Same result. Still sterile. No chance. And that's when the math snapped into place. If it wasn't mine, whose was it? The suspicion tunneled straight to Owen. He was 27. All charm and CrossFit shoulders, renting the house across the cul-de-sac from his aunt. Aspiring model. Always jogging shirtless. Julia had doted on him. Brownies on his doorstep, spare casserole when I wasn't home, casual conversation that I'd once brushed off. But that test shattered my denial. I checked her phone. Spotless. Too spotless. No flirty messages. No call logs. No deleted history. Her laptop. Always guarded like gold. But that changed during her pregnancy announcement party. While friends and family crowded our backyard with balloons and hors d'oeuvres, I slipped down the hall and cracked open her laptop. No password. One hidden Gmail account. A cheeky name that mashed their initials together. My heart sank. The inbox read like a dime store romance. Pet names, selfies, promises, and plans. My sunrise, she called him. Our little family. She talked about moving to New York after sorting things with me. But her last email chilled me. She'd told Owen she was pregnant. He hadn't replied in 2 days. Copied every email. Screenshot after screenshot. Saved them all to a flash drive. I even slipped it into the Father's Day necklace Lucas had given me years ago. I returned to the party with a smile fixed to my face like a mask. When Julia took my hand to cut the cake, I squeezed back just enough to hide the earthquake inside me. That night, while she slept beside me, peaceful, glowing, I stared at the ceiling fan again, counting each spin until dawn. That's when I decided. Revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be exact. Over the next several months, I became the dream husband. OB appointments, foot rubs, nursery painting. Every moment I smiled. I loved our sons. But I watched her. Every Venmo to Owen, every Lyft trip from our address when I was at work. I saved it all. When Owen jogged by, I waved. Friendly, warm. And watched the panic flicker in his eyes. Julia's due date landed in mid-October. When her water broke at dawn, I drove her to the hospital playing classic rock. Coached her breathing. Played the part to perfection. But as soon as she was admitted, her parents still an hour out, I leaned close and whispered, "I'm going to call Owen. The real dad should be here." She froze. Before she could protest, I dropped a slim envelope on the tray. 2 lab reports, printed emails, financial transactions, photographic evidence. Her face paled, then twisted in pain. Labor pain, not guilt. I kissed her forehead, stepped out of the room and called Owen. "Your kid's arriving," I said. "Room 214. Don't be late." Then I left. Didn't look back. Checked into a motel under Nick James. Warm beer. TV off. I slept 12 straight hours. Dreamless. When I turned my phone back on, it exploded. Missed calls, messages, voicemails that swung from desperation to fury. I ignored them all. Then I texted my parents. Family meeting. 7 p.m. No questions. That evening, I laid everything out on their dining room table. Photos, reports, timeline. My brother Jake paced. Mom cried. Dad stared in silence, then said, "Take the time you need. We've got you." A week later, the divorce papers were served. Straight to Julia's hospital room. Filed under marital misconduct. Our lawyer, Ruth McKinley, was a shark. No alimony. No child support. "You're clean." Julia moved in with Owen. A rental half the size of our house. From my kitchen window, I watched it shrink around them. I wasn't spying, our street is a loop. But I saw enough. And then one night, shouting erupted. I saw Owen throw a diaper bag across the porch. Julia, holding the baby Eli, stumbled after him. He shoved her. She slipped. I didn't think. I ran barefoot. Vaulted the hedge. Caught her before she fell. "Give me the baby," I said. She handed Eli over without a word. Owen's face twisted. "This isn't your business." I met his gaze. "Touch her again and it'll be the cops' business." He retreated. Slammed the door. I took Julia and Eli inside. Sat her on the couch. Gave her water. Called her father. When he arrived, he hugged her, then me. Wordlessly. Within 48 hours, she signed the divorce. No contest. No custody fight. No claim on my finances. Owen vanished 2 days later. Last I heard, he's parking cars in Arizona. 6 months have passed. Lucas and Ben split time between me and their grandparents. Our house feels like mine again. I ripped out the living room carpet Julia hated and replaced it with the hardwood she always wanted but never got. My quiet revenge. Julia rents a small apartment across town. She brings Eli over every other Saturday. At first, her voice cracked when she said, "Thank you." Later she added, "I'm sorry." He nodded. "'Cause I believe she is. Forgiving isn't forgetting. It's choosing not to bleed forever from the same wound. Sometimes I miss the dream. I miss what I thought we had. But then Ben shouts from the garage, asking me to check his skateboard trucks, and I remember, I'm not done building a future. To anyone hearing this who's been betrayed, there's no script. You endure. You find yourself again. And when you do, let truth guide you. Let dignity steer. And above all, let go of what you can't carry anymore.